Oh, hello folks, this is Steve AB for you. What I'm about to do, I've actually done twice before. First on the other computer, and then when I saw what happened, on this one, yesterday. But it got a little long, and I used a lot of French. Pardon my French. Nothing in this episode is a promotion, nor is it a recommendation, for sure. Now, I've got my standard tab open /doc, but that's not what we're interested in. We're going to recreate. Now, I have to scroll a little further. Times of Israel. That's an online news site, primarily English language, but it has several others like Farsi, Persian. We'll choose the latest articles. And I was scrolling down. Now, I said I'll have to scroll a lot farther because it's been almost 24 hours since. So I'll have to load more. See, this is old news. Boy, they got a lot of alarm. Yeah. Oh, wow, they've got a lot of articles. We're getting close. Here it is. Boy, they really published a lot of articles in the last 24 hours. NYC Council votes on recognizing anniversary of first Jewish arrivals in city. New York City Council. Bill aims to mark little-known landing day, marking the date of 1654 of the Christian era, arrival of the first Jews in the then New Amsterdam, today known as New York City, and celebrating the continuing... Now I'm going to pick out a couple paragraphs to lead into where we're going. 370 years ago this week, a group of 23 Sephardic Jews arrived on the shores of New York, then called New Amsterdam, and created the first organized Jewish community in the city. The Hebrew word for Germany, or the area that we call Germany, but going back 2,000 years, Ashkenaz. And that's where Ashkenazi Jews come from, Germanic Jews. The name of ancient Spain was Sfarad, Sephardic Jews. Sfarad, Sephardic Jews. The Jews who had been living in Spain were expelled first by the first and then second decrees of expulsion promulgated by Queen Isabella in 1492. The choice was become Christians, convert to Christianity, or get out now. And the bulk of the Jews decided not to become conversos, converts. A few did. The bulk of the Jews moved next door to Portugal. Now, some went other places. I'm explaining the word. You'll see why in a minute. However, after 10 years in Portugal, those Jews were also expelled. Now, I had a kibbutz mother when I was in Israel 50-something years ago. She was born in Jerusalem, grew up in Jerusalem, and the language she spoke at home growing up was Ladino. The Spanish the Jews spoke in 1492, not the Spanish of today. They carried the language with them into exile. Now remember what I said about Portugal. So this group of 23 Sephardic Jews arrived. Now where did they come from? Well, that's mentioned later in the article. Let's find it. While the exact day the Jews landed in New York is not known, records indicate it occurred during the week before Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. No, it's not on the 1st of January. They have a lunar calendar, so it actually moves with respect to the Julian calendar, which was that year on September 12th, 1654. See, they can calculate backwards. That year, nearly 24 Sephardic Jews arrived in New York, New Amsterdam, after fleeing persecution in Brazil. Remember, the Jews were exiled from Spain in 1492, and then about 10 years later, in 1502 or so, kicked out of Portugal. And what's the primary language of Brazil? Portugal. And what's the second most common language? Italian. Most of the rest of South America is Spanish-speaking, but not Brazil. The fleeing the persecution in Brazil, which had recently been colonized by the Portuguese. 3 Ashkenazi Jews, see, there's a reason why I mention this. So these guys, the 3 we're going to talk about now, came from somewhere else, and their lineage goes back to Germany area of, no, they probably came from Holland. I'll explain in a minute. 3 Ashkenazi Jews who were in New Amsterdam, and they named them, had arrived from Europe weeks earlier and helped advocate for the group to stay in New York. So these new people landed. These 3 Jews who'd come a few weeks earlier for a completely different reason say, oh, these are our brothers from Spain. Sure, we'll talk to the big boy. Now, we can get a guess at who these 3 people were, what their function was. Helped advocate for the group to stay in New York when Peter Sturdivant, the Dutch general of New Amsterdam, not mayor, Director General of New Amsterdam, rejected the new refugees. He didn't want them contaminating because he wanted to establish a colony solely for Dutch Reformed Christians. So how come those 3 Ashkenazi Jews were there? Didn't he kick them out? See, there's things hidden behind the narrative. Now let's see if we can figure it out. With urging from the Dutch West India Company, which at the time operated heavily in what was known as New Netherland. The other name of it, Holland, is the Netherlands. At which time operated heavily in what was known as New Netherland, and which had many Jewish investors. Oh, those guys probably were representing the main investors who came over to check on Sturtevant to make sure he was doing the job he was supposed to. That's a guess. Sturtevant was overruled and the group remained. So these, see, they're not saying it directly, but these three guys were speaking as officially on behalf of the Dutch West India Company, and they said, no, you're not going to kick them out. Make way. Money talks. Where would the Jews would the Jewish investors been in, like, Spain? Oh no, they couldn't have been in Spain. Do you think there was any diamond cutting in Spain in 1492? Were diamonds known? Did you know that the Netherlands, for a very long period of time, was one of the main centers for diamond cutting, polishing, and finishing? And that it was done almost entirely by the Jews in a ghetto in Amsterdam? What do you think they did with their spare money? Oh, they invested it. I'm guessing. If you go to a map of Amsterdam, and if you search correctly, you can find the exact section of the city where all those Jews lived who did the diamonds. Okay, they went on to establish the first Jewish congregation in the United States, the Mill Street Synagogue. It was renamed the Congregation Sharith Yisrael, the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue. So it was a Sephardic synagogue. There was a college for women in Baltimore very early on in the colonies of the United States, established by Sephardic Jews for Jewish women, girls, to learn something more than housekeeping. So, whether they were Ashkenazi Jews or they were Sephardic Jews, in their travels, they were pretty smart people. All right, now, to get on to what it was that attracted my attention. Now, you know that my mind wanders. I've given you the background. Pardon my frog. Peter Sturtevant. You can't see that, so we'll kick it up. You've all heard of him if you took, well, when we were in grade school, we learned about that. I've known somebody named Sturtevant. And I don't mean a long time ago. I know him now. But he, as far as I know, is not related to the Sturtevant in this story. He's related to another Sturtevant, who was a fairly important person in modern biological science. So what I did, now I'm going to see if the search engine has learned anything since I tried to teach it something. Now we're going to get down to the meat of it. So let's go to the Google search engine and put in Sturtevant, which is what I did before, twice, 2 different days. Sturtevant High School. Actually, I've heard of it. Peter Sturtevant, former director of New Netherland. Sturtevant Town, Peter Cooper Village, a neighborhood in New York. Sturtevant Park Residence, the new school. Sturtevant Heights in Brooklyn. Sturtevant, a town in New York State. Sturtevant Park, Sturtevant Plaza. And then I did this. Sturtevant Genetics. Like that. Yeah, I can see it's just as stupid as it was yesterday and the day before. I mean, really stupid. And now we're getting down to it. You know, the big deal about AI is so incredible. Half the news stories now are about things that you can do with OpenAI acknowledges new models increase risk of misuse to create bioweapons. Remember, I'm saying that we're headed toward biology, biological science. OpenAI acknowledges new models increase risk of misuse to create bioweapons, like a virus that nobody can stop. Okay? Now you'll see how this fits in. Genetics is a part of bioscience. Sturtevant Genetics. Joshua Lederberg. Joshua Lederberg. Well, Lederberg's not named Sturtevant, but I know who Joshua Lederberg was. Phage Genetics. Yeah, he won a Nobel Prize. I also remember somebody telling me the whole thing about Joshua Lederberg was that he was typing up stuff on his typewriter. He couldn't stay away from hitting the letter I as a word. I this, I did that, I. But this is AI overview. This is supposed to be computer intelligence. And the connection they make to a Nobel laureate is by way of Sturtevant High School, because the first search for Sturtevant was everything about New York City. But the person I know who is a semi-medical professional doesn't live in New York, lives in North Carolina. So the search engine is under the guise of this supposed genius computer AI has got New York City on its mind. Very, very narrow focus. So this guy, Lederberg, was a graduate of, and he got the 1958 Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. Yeah, for phage genetics. Other notable people from Sturtevant High School include, and he got the Wolf Prize in it. Okay. Show more. Fogel, Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. Stein, Wolf Prize in... these probably... I'm going to guess. Thelonious Monk, who graduated in 1935. Oh, is that... I once saw a Thelonious Monk playing piano at an outdoor concert in the Philadelphia area. Let's see what they're going to... Oh! Oh! He went to Sturtevant High! What's that got to do with Sturtevant? Sturtevant. I can't say it right. I say Sturtevant. It's Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant. Oh, you mean I mispronounced all my life? What's that got to do with genetics? Sturtevant High blog, Genes in Space, former attendee of the Sturtevant. It's all about that high school, with them creeping in something to do with genetics. Now you wonder, why am I doing this? This is so stupid garbage, it's incredible. These people were accomplishers, but it's stupid in terms of the search term. Now I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show you how that AI overview is garbage. Drosophila. Drosophila. Okay? You know what that is, don't you? It's a fly. You knew that, right? And I'm going to do this. And you see how it comes up with the melanogaster? Drosophila melanogaster is the Latin species name for a fly that figures strongly in the early development of modern genetics. Now, let's see what they did. I want to be sure that I'm seeing it right. Do you notice how the search engine, when you start typing something in, it'll say, do you really mean? And they try to correct you. And sometimes in my searches, I'm intentionally spelling it a certain way, and they give me something else that they think I should have spelled. And you've seen me in episodes being irritated by that. And then I put double quotes around it to force them to search the way I spelled it. Pardon me for ranting. This is how the Dutch guy was named. And now they say, oh, Drosophila, that. And then they go, as the first selection. Now, you'll notice how I kept saying it, and then I corrected myself when I looked at the spelling and said, I'm obviously mispronouncing that guy in 1654, whatever it was. I'm mispronouncing his name. I've probably been mispronouncing it all my life. I probably heard the teacher in class say it that way, or I thought she said it that way, and I've been saying it that way since like 5th grade. Sturtevant. And the person I know is named Sturtevant. Let's take a look at who this was. Now remember, Alfred Henry Sturtevant, 1891 to 1970, was an American geneticist. Sturtevant constructed the first genetic map of a chromosome in 1911. The stuff you only can see under a microscope with staining. Throughout his career, he worked on the organism Drosophila melanogaster with Thomas Hunt Morgan, who was another famous geneticist. By watching the development of flies in which the earliest cell divisions produced two different genomes, that's called meiosis, he measured the embryonic distance between organs and blah, 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 blah. He was born in Illinois, graduate of Yale, second president of Illinois College. His father, when he was 7 years old, they moved to Alabama, one-room schoolhouse. Oh, that's like Ernie Sears. Ernie Sears went to school in a two-room schoolhouse from first grade all the way through high school. And then he ended up eventually getting a PhD from Harvard. Yeah, that's right, Oregon Territory. Not Oregon State, Oregon Territory. Oh, yeah, a lot of people. Abraham Lincoln. What kind of schoolroom did he go to? Now, the thing is, apparently he was interested in let's get a picture of him. There he is. And there's the Drosophila. See it? See it? Now, they show you a little bit about how he was tracing the chromosomes and he was mating these things. And yeah, there we go. Hang on. Open image in a new tab. Let's see how big it is. Oh, it's no better. Can you see all of the bottles in the back? Can you see all those bottles? Those are flasks. And they've got a cotton ball in the top, and you grow your colonies of flies with food in there for them. You see how many he had? The linear arrangement of 6 sex-linked factors in Drosophila is shown by their mode of association. So he was studying chromosome behavior. He was the first person to create a genetic map of some of the chromosomes and chromosome segments in this pesky little fly. Now, let's get back to my criticism of the AI-guided Google garbage search engine. When I was doing the search, I started with Sturtevant. And they went off on their ass about New York City. And then I added genetics. And it never occurred to the AI guidance that I wanted something directly about somebody named Sturtevant and genetics. Instead, they reached behind their neck and said, were there any geneticists known who graduated from Sturtevant High School? And when I finally kicked them in the butt and put Drosophila, oh, is that what you're talking about? Oh, you misspelled the person's name. In a way, I'm dissecting how it works, and I think the way it works is garbage. In the past, when there was no AI, they would have done this to me immediately. But now with the overly clever, super genius AI, they're feeding us garbage. Based on the prejudice of how they lopped up the learning material. Do you understand what I'm saying? One of the things that now is generating huge lawsuits, AI copyright lawsuits. Case tracker, artificial intelligence, copyrights, and class action suits. Artists score major win in copyright case against AI and copyright in 2023. What have we learned from the 20 AI copyright lawsuits? U.S. artists score a victory in landmark AI copyright. AI lawsuits worth watching a curated guide. Google is using YouTube videos to develop specialized models. Meta was using the stuff on their website without asking people's permission. If I own the copyright to my YouTube videos, who said Google automatically has the right to feed that through their specialized AI model to teach it? They didn't ask me. That's what this is about. So I'm kind of breaking down a potential explanation of the stupidity of the single-minded, completely off the track path that the AI-mediated response came up with. When I put in, now let's see if it learned anything. You saw me do this to it with another word or two, so let's do it again. Let's see if it can't learn. Now look what it's doing. Oh, let's see if this changes it. I'm going to allow them to know my location. Let's see, does it change the results? Does knowing my location change the results? No, it looks like it's still all about Sturtevant High School. It's brain dead. It's brain dead. And then what was the next word I added? All I'm doing is repeating it again. I've been sitting here talking to you. I'm showing you how much garbage this is. They give me the same result. They didn't take a hint. These are the same results. Now, suppose I play a game and I go chromosome. Let's see what it says. I haven't done this before. Let's see what it says. When referring to, now look at what, now it finally figured it out. Watch. I'm going to enlarge this. Watch. I haven't done this before. It finally figured it out, but I had to kick it in the shins. Instead of saying Drosophila as the third search term, I said chromosome. I got even more specific. When referring to, now they quote me. You see the quote right here? Right there? It's an exact repeat of my search term, including spelling the name of the Dutch guy, not the actual spelling of the person I'm after, who sounds sort of like that name. The connection most likely is to Alfred Sturtevant. Somehow, instead of saying Drosophila, but saying chromosome. Oh, is that what you were talking about? It woke up. A prominent geneticist who attended that high school in New York and is credited. Oh, he attended that? I didn't know that. Is that true? No, wait a minute. Is that what we saw in the biography? Wait a minute. Let's see what it's saying here. I think it's fabricating. Hang on. The connection is most likely to Alfred Sturtevant, a prominent geneticist who attended Stuyvesant High School in New York City and is credited with creating the first genetic map of a chromosome using the fruit fly Drosophila melanogaster as his model organism. Therefore, your search terms, in quotes, could be understood as referring to the chromosomes studied by Sturtevant in his pioneer work on gene mapping. Now he got it right. But let's take one peek here. Wait a minute. Let's see if it's trying to pull something over on me. They claim he went to that high school. Was that right? Was that correct? Wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm so excited I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's go to Wikipedia. The geneticist Alfred Sturtevant was born in Jacksonville, Illinois, United States, 1891, the youngest of 6 children. His grandfather was a Yale University graduate, his grandfather, they now say that his grandfather was an academic, and Sturtevant's father apparently at Illinois College taught genetics there. All right. When Sturtevant was 7 years old, his father quit his teaching job at Illinois College and moved the family to Alabama. Doesn't sound like New York City. And Yale is in Connecticut, not in New York City. So we've mentioned Illinois College, which we assume is in the state of Illinois, and Yale University, which is in Connecticut. Yes, it's 50 miles away from the border of New York City, but... Now, wait a minute. Hang on. They moved to Alabama. That's not New York City. Sturtevant attended a one-room schoolhouse until entering high school in Mobile, presumably Alabama. In 1908, he enrolled at Columbia University, New York City. During that time, he lived with his older brother, Edgar, a linguist who taught nearby. Edward taught Alfred about scholarship and research. Then he goes on to, after Sturtevant stayed at Columbia as a research investigator for the Carnegie Institution of Washington and the Fly Room and Drosophila, and he's getting married. And then he's talking about Sturtevant moved to the California Institute of Technology, where he became a professor, and he wrote a book with George Beadle. George Beadle was originally a Mace geneticist, but he got out of that. And Dobzhinsky, you can't even pronounce that, can you? How do I know these names? And Emerson, and Schultz, National Academy of Science, Philadelphia, There's nothing. This is already into his later in life. He's a big deal because of his research. He's the first person to create a map, a working map of at least one chromosome in Drosophila. Now wait a minute. Where does it mention Where does it mention him? The connection most likely is Alfred Sturtevant, a prominent geneticist who attended, here's the fabrication garbage, who attended Stuyvesant High School in New York City. We just went through the life chronicle of using Wikipedia, and there is no connection to that high school. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Garbage. One of the... Do AI models fabricate answers? Why doesn't it want to show me something about Do you see what the search results are at the Google search engine that's being overwatched by the AI preview? Oh, no. This harkens back to what I said before. They assume that I didn't really mean to say the word fabricate. And so they, in order to deflect from the stupidity and garbage, the junk science of AI models, they intentionally gave me answers that left the word fabricate out of them. What will this look like if I tell it to include fabricate? Now the AI overview grabs something from hallucination, artificial intelligence as a topic. I've never seen this before on Wikipedia. Some researchers believe that some incorrect AI responses classified by humans as hallucinations is a case of object detection may in fact be justified by the training data, or even that AI may be giving a correct answer that the human reviewers are failing to see. Do you see the excuse? That Wikipedia article was written by an AI, not by a person. They're covering up. But wait a minute. They're not... Now look, remember what I said about I would force it to do what I wanted by putting quotes around it? When I said include the word fabricate, it did remodel the search, do AI model fabricate, and there's a double quote around it, which means you're forced to find the word fabricate in the... But let's go and look at the article. Find fabricate. And if I look at this side, I can see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what? Now look at what it did. The AI overview grabbed something from the Wikipedia article that does not contain the word fabricate. And it highlighted that that's the answer to that search, even though that search has double quotes around fabricate. But when I go to the Wikipedia article and I simply search on the word fabricate, there are 6 instances. Let's see what they are. Other examples involve baiting ChatGPT with a false premise to see if it embellishes upon the premise. When asked about Harold Collard's idea about dynamic canonicity, ChatGPT fabricated that Collard wrote a book called, and they made up the name. Let's find the next example in the article. Swartz said that he had never previously used ChatGPT, that he did not recognize the possibility that ChatGPT's output could have been fabricated, and that ChatGPT, an AI model, continued to assert the authenticity of the precedents after their non-existence was discovered. This probably was about the case where lawyers used ChatGPT to prepare some precedents in a loss presentation to the court, and they were caught. I think I made a video about that. Let's find the next one. Again, they're talking about ChatGPT. So what this AI model is doing is saying, well, just because ChatGPT does it, that you should dirty me. I'm not even going to mention it. So it's ChatGPT again. Because of the AI's ability to fabricate research undetected, the use of AI in the field of research will make determining the originality of the research more difficult and require new policies regulating its use in the future. Let's find the next one. Belanger, Ashley, 2000, OpenAI faces defamation suit after ChatGPT completely fabricated another. That's the one I made a video about. See, I was onto that very early. And Google AI Overview is a fabricator. It's garbage. You know what they'll say? Well, it's just the beginning and we're learning. Oh, I'm sorry, that $100 bill I handed to you, the bank wouldn't take it because they could see it was a counterfeit? Well, I'm just learning how to draw it good or better. Yeah, well, come back tomorrow and I'll have a better one for you. I won't charge you any more. It'll still be $5 for it. Okay, folks? It's garbage. It is garbage. In the last year and a bit more, people who know have been complaining about the degradation of the quality of the Google search results, especially in light of the high correlation with results that are presented that somehow have an advertising possibility behind them. This is another aspect of the running it into the ground by the super geniuses running Alphabet. They're out of control. Now I'm going to remind you of something. How many car makers have there been in the USA? How many car manufacturers have there been in the USA? Let's go to Wikipedia. The AI overview, the selector says, starting with Duryea in 1895. I remember that one. He was the first one. Horseless carriage. At least 1,900 different companies have been formed, producing over 3,000 makes of automobiles. And yet, if I go into Asheboro, which is Automobile Dealership Row, known for it, this is where in the Piedmont you come if you want to be able to go from one make to another and compare them right there that afternoon. They're all within a mile of each other on US 64. It's a great place to buy a car. I'm not promoting anything. If you want to be able to really check out, look at them and see what the differences are, they're all right there, the major brands. And half of them are Japanese, not American. $1,900 different companies and over 3,000 makes. Now watch the news and see how many people are jumping off and forming their own AI companies and getting all kinds of investment money. It's going to do the same thing. Now, the point of it is, why aren't there anywhere near 1,900 automobile companies today? It's easy. 90% of them were junk in comparison to the ones that actually made it, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And that's AI today. Everything else is bullshit propaganda. And they've stuck it right into Google search, and it's fabricating garbage. It's misleading. It's a 3-month-old. You know what? Would you ask a 1-year-old for directions to the hospital if you've got your arm broken? Well, that's what you're doing now when you're going to the search engine. Effectively. And I caught him fabricating. It was right there. He fabricated it. Right there. Alfred Sturdivant, a prominent geneticist who attended Stuyvesant High School in New York City, there's the fabrication. And that means, pardon me for going on, they're treating you as so stupid you won't know the difference. Are you? I'm not. And do you notice it really didn't take me a lot of effort to get it to fabricate? Steve A. before you, just having fun. Saying see you in 73.